everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Connect the Dots, a place where we share experiences, build relationships, and learn how to cope with our everyday challenges. My name is Ezra White, and I am joined here today with Kylie and Carl. And today we'll be talking about different types of social activities that blind and visually impaired people can do. Now, of course, blind and visually impaired people can do whatever they want, but these are just suggestions from our personal experiences that we like to pass on to you folks. So before we begin, let's just go around the room just quickly, just to get a roll call. So I'm Ezra.
How's it doing, everybody? It's Carl.
And I'm Kylie.
So there are many different types of activities for blind and visually impaired people to take a part of. Some are like going to the movies, going to the mall, going to museums. There's a lot of different opportunities out there. Just because you're blind should not cause a reason for you not being able to get out of the house and get out in the community. It took me a while to realize that, and to finally get out in the community, go to the mall, go shopping, go to the movie theater. And speaking of the movie theaters, this came out a few years back. But now, at least in the United States, as far as I'm aware, there are audio descriptive headsets that are free of charge. All you have to do is request them at the ticket booth. And they are most likely available for every movie in that theater. I am most familiar with Regal. Regal Theaters has, every time I went to Regal, their theaters had pretty good accommodations when it came to audio description. Now, for those of you who don't know, audio description is basically a person who narrates. It's a pre-recorded narration of the movie that you're watching currently. So it's all in real time. You put on a pair of headsets, and as the movie is playing on the big screen, you have a person who is pre-recorded narrating the same movie as, like I said, in real time. So as the activities are going on in the movie. Again, that's up to you. Me personally, I don't use it as much because I prefer to imagine as I'm watching the movie. Sometimes I use it. It depends, but it's all up to you. And another thing they have, or another activities they have, is going to the mall. I go to the mall a lot with my friends, my family. So even though you're blind, that shouldn't prevent you from, spending time with those you care about and those you love. Yeah. Over here, I like to go to even clothing stores. Even though I can't see the designs, or I can't picture the designs in my head because of all the detail, I still care about fashion, and I still love looking at different types of clothing, feeling the textures, feeling, I guess, the basic components that make up the clothing, and sometimes even the design, because you don't want to be a guy wearing a purple shirt and a pink shirt unless you like that. Then go right ahead. No one's telling you no. Go right ahead. But color still matters. At least to me, it does. So I really enjoy just browsing different types of clothing, different brands, and all of that. It's still really fun. Another thing I like to do is take tours. Over here we have Iolani Palace, which is actually a very famous landmark here in Hawaii. It's where the royal monarchy of Hawaii, before the United States acquired these islands, were housed. So it's very interesting to walk through, different places and just experience the history and the culture that it had, and to learn and know about the people who once resided there. Okay. So I believe Kylie and Carl had also had some things they want to share about other types of activities that they had in mind from their experiences to give to you folks. So we can begin with them.
All right, so yeah, I think I'll go first, Ezra. So I'm going to be talking about some outdoor activities that we can do. A lot of those things that Ezra was talking about were indoors, under a roof, but we don't want to get out into the sun get out some exercise, get all of that done. First one I want to talk about was hiking. Hawaii is really the place to be doing that kind of thing. We have, especially on Maui no Kauai, Maui is the best. We have Haleakala, which is very high in altitude, 10,000 feet, I believe. And you can do also the sunrise there. It's an experience in and of itself just to go there for sunrise. You can feel the warmth. And if you have light perception, you could also get the sunlight, because it is very dark up there, especially at that kind of altitude. And it's also very cold. So that's what I was talking about, feeling the warmth of the sun. It gives you a different perspective about the environment around you. The second one I want to talk about is going out to do, like Ezra was saying, tours, but especially Hawaii, we have a lot of places that are related to agriculture. So we have on Maui, the Maui Tropical Plantation. They got a tour there. You can experience going through one of the old patches that they used to plant things in. They also do a session where they get to a certain part where they have fruits and coconuts, and you're able to figure out how to, you can sample the fruits and the coconuts and all that kind of thing, but you can also learn about their significance and their history, like Ezra was saying. Another one would be the water park. Now, not specifically here in Oahu, but I can imagine that there are water parks in other parts of the United States, internationally. That's very fun. If you really need to, some accommodations that you might want to ask for, maybe a guide, or if you have friends, want to make this a social activity, then go ahead and bring your friends, and it's very beneficial because you get to get the experience with them and get closer. Another thing that is outdoors that we've actually done here with GDH is go and seeing dolphins. There's the Dolphin Adventure Quest thing up in Kahala Hotel, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that one's really nice because you get to really feel the animal up close and personal. You get to hear it, make its natural sound that I'm not going to attempt. Watch for that in bloopers, guys. That one you get really a real nice close-up perspective with the animals, and it's not just it. I mean, I would recommend the zoo as well, but it's a different experience than the zoo or the Ocean Center, which we have on Maui. You guys have an aquarium on Oahu, right?
Yeah,
We do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, Maui also has a My Ocean Center, and actually, My Ocean Center, I've been there once. Well, more than once, but on one occasion there was actually a coral display that you got to get hands-on with the coral. You could touch it. It's in this box, and you can feel the texture of the real scaly, hard rock texture of coral. And moving on from the water, you can also just go to the park and just walk around. That one's a fun one because you never know what you're gonna run into, who you're gonna meet, and it's a very relaxing experience, especially if there's nobody there. You can just have a good walk and you can think to yourself, and I think that does pretty well, and most of these things, if not all of them, you can do in a group. You go to an aquarium, a zoo, museum. Not museum. The tropical plantation, things like that. There are tour groups, and you can also just invite your friends. Just say, hey, you want to go somewhere today? Let's do it. Because an important thing is being able to do things together with people. And a lot of these things, like I said, you can get hands-on with it. For some, you are actually doing the activity, like at the water park, you were the one going down the slides. things like that. Or, the tropical plantation, you're able to sample the food. At the Ocean Center, you're able to touch the coral. So a good amount of there's a good balance that you can achieve with learning and also being hands-on with the activity, being able to do it with the party that you were with, and like I said, being there with people and getting closer and making relationships, networking with others, and always there's a way to make it accessible, and especially for like hiking and that sort of thing. I have done hikes without vision. I challenge myself to not use my vision, and it's definitely possible. I would suggest that you do have a guide though, unless you know the trail really, really well. Aside from that though, it's definitely doable. It's a good way to challenge yourself too. Like I said, try to not use your vision. That's a fun one. So I think we'll move on now to Kylie into a different realm.
Sure. So my topic is going to be on accessible games, both tabletop games and video games. So there are actually a lot of ways to make games accessible. Most commonly, I think the first game that I had been introduced to that was accessible was Uno. You can actually buy Uno cards with a braille. There's an alphabet for the color, as well as the number for, obviously, the number on each Uno card. So that makes the game accessible for someone who might not be able to see. There are also different ways to make other, more board games accessible. A lot of times it includes, just like the cards, putting braille on the pieces or on the board. Sometimes it involves putting a peg on the piece, to keep it in place so that you can feel it without moving it, out of its position. So if you're looking for these kinds of accessible tabletop games, a good place might be MaxiAids. You might know them for some of your other accessibility needs, but they also do have toys and games that you could pick up and try for yourself. So a lot of people that are visually impaired also have iPhones, and there is a section, or there is a community centered around games that are accessible, games that are known or that were designed to work well with voice over Apple's screen reader technology. So there are a lot of great games. Like I personally played this one game called A Dark Room. Basically, it's a text-based game, and you get to you wake up in this cave and you evolve it into a city, and you add more people, and it's a lot of fun. I liked it. So if you're into that type of thing, if you're into playing video games, games on your phone, then that might be something to look into. So the community is called AppleVis. So they have I believe they have a forum where they like to share a lot of games that are known for their accessibility.
I'm very familiar with AppleVis, and actually, AppleVis was a place where I found a good recommendation. The company is called Choice of Games.
Oh yeah.
And they develop. It's all text based. They develop a bunch of game books where you choose your own adventure.
You can actually make your own game.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a whole there's a tool that's been set up where you can actually design your own.
Yeah, that's interesting. You can make your own adventure, and that's wild.
So it is available for Apple, Android, and Steam. So if you're on computer.
Oh, Steam.
Yeah, Steam too. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So, get on an Xbox and PS4.
Yeah.
Right? Totally.
So again, the company is called Choice of Games, 3 words, and they have all these different titles. There's books in which you play a U.S. Marshal from the Old West, and you basically are given a county that you have to run. So it's very, very interesting, and there's a lot of details that are incorporated into these books. and I would say each book is about a couple 100,000 words. It all ranges.
Is that? Do you have
Ooh.
to pay for those?
Yes, you do have to pay for those.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most I've seen is $5. So
Yeah.
they come around average $2 to $3 a book,
That's not bad.
and it's all very 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 interesting. So, there are a lot of options out there for you folks to try because playing video games and because before I lost my vision, I was a huge gamer. I was a huge gamer.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I used to always play in my PlayStation 2, the original Xbox 360, And then once I lost my vision, I was like, oh, I can't play it anymore because I can't see what's on the screen. So it'd be a lot more challenging. And then when I came across all of these other games, Choice of Games, A Dark Room, it was like, oh, wow. It's still all very entertaining. And, you just got to do your research, yeah. And you will find what you seek, yeah. So I believe that is all for this episode. Was there anything else anyone wanted to share?
I think I share that sentiment with you. I have some vision still, and yeah, I do play video games very often. Aside from my physical, as I just noted there. One thing I actually did forget to mention was sports.
Mm.
That's a good one. There are a lot of adaptive sports out there that you could play. There are associations. In fact, I one of my head counselor with NEAC, he actually plays for a team in California for a GoalBall. So that's also something you should seek out. Look out for adapted sports leagues or organizations that have tournaments. 'Cause that's always fun. Playing sports is that's great. I play basketball, so.
Hawaii needs its own GoalBall team. It really does.
Do we not have one?
I don't think so.
Interesting.
I don't think so.
Alrighty.
Yeah. Well, that's all we have for you folks for today. Thank you so much for listening. Hope it's pretty interesting, with all these options and all of that out there to choose from. So that's all we have for you folks today. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email connectthedots@guidedogsofhawaii.org, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Please stay tuned for our next episode and have a great day. Bye.